Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile. I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I low-key feel like I have to defend myself in painting these because I have observed some people out in the wilds of the YouTubes who do not like it when you paint things that are not supposed to be painted, and I understand that, but y'all, this is not some rare 16th century tiger oak dresser. This is a pair of wonky colored ice skates that are little and that are scuffed that I tried to sell in my shop last year and they didn't sell. So we're going to paint them. We're going to start with Debbie's DIY Cottage Color White Linen. This is a 3-in-1 paint with primer and sealer. It has to be mixed pretty good, and I like to use my handy dandy little mixer I found on Amazon. It's rechargeable, and I actually changed the attachment and used a little kind of like a beater for this. I'll leave a link for it in the description, and if you use any of my links from Amazon to buy any of these products, I will get a small compensation from them. Because I wanted precision right here, I'm using a small brush, but as per my usual, nothing about this project turned out the way I originally thought it would be. I should have just used a big old brush and slapped that paint on there. And to that end, I should have used Salvation Solution instead of the paint I chose, because the paint I changed to needs a primer, and Salvation Solution is like the superhero of primer. That stuff is awesome. I did my first big YouTube star thing. Look at my nails. Look right here, see them? Ta-da! I got my nails did, y'all. And obviously time has passed. These skates sat in my she shack for a couple weeks before I realized I wanted to paint them. And I'll tell you why I painted them in just a minute. But first I have to tell you about the tongues. I wanted to do something with faux lap, which is what I call drop cloth because it sounds better. And it's not burlap, but it's not, you know. That way it doesn't sound like something I bought for 59 cents a yard at Harbor Freight. Anyway, I'm covering the tongue. You don't have to iron this. When you glue it, it just stretches out and it looks real smooth. Now, you do want to make it so it's wide enough to go all the way around the tongue. It doesn't have to be pretty on the inside because we're going to put some greenery in there. But you want it to go around enough so that it will stick with the glue and not have any little strings coming around the sides of the tongue. This is super basic. We're going to start at the top of the base of the tongue and glue it down and then work our way up the top and around, and then we'll flip it out and go around the edges on the back. You don't have to do this part. You can skip it and just paint the tongue. I just thought it would look neat because I love just about everything covered in drop cloth. Oh, I almost forgot. I was going to tell you how I came up with the idea for painting these skates apothecary and putting Christmas transfers on them. So a couple weeks ago, I was on the Iron Orchid Designs Facebook page called The Creative Tribe, and a gal had done these cake tins. They were vintage, and they were apothecary or another paint very close to that color, and she had put Kitschy Christmas transfers on them from the IOD 24 Christmas release. Oh my gosh, you guys, they were so cute. Of course, I looked up on Amazon to see if I could buy some tins because there's not any in any of the thrift stores around here, and they're like $30-something, and I thought, well, what could I paint? What's a lot like a cake plate tin? Skates? Well, no, but I had already started the skates. I had painted them white and they were ready to go. I had set them aside, so I thought, you know what, this is gonna work. I can do this. Plus, apothecary is my favorite color. If I could only use one color the rest of my life, it would be apothecary. I did private message the gal who gave me the inspiration for these, and when she gets back to me and gives me permission, I'll add her name in the description so you can follow her on social media and get some more of her great ideas. For the shoelaces, I'm using this pretty little black ribbon, and I'm just making sure It's the same length on both sides. You want to make sure it's too long and not too short, because you can always have some hang down, but you can't add more. I cut them at a very drastic angle to get them through the eyelets, but sometimes there's a little bit of paint in there, or it's just kind of hard to get through. So I take a little dowel like a lollipop stick and put a dab of hot glue on it and put the ribbon over it, and it just goes right through. And now for my favorite part. We get to put stickers on stuff. I have no idea why I was pointing to that right then. So I have this fun idea to put a Santa inside of a wreath, and I think it turned out good. I do wish I would have pushed the wreath up a little bit or used a smaller wreath on him. It works. It just didn't have the complete effect I wanted. So I'm using transfers out of Iron Orchid Designs Christmas 2024 release, and the books I'm using are Crimson Velvet and Yuletide. If you can't find a stockist who has them, get in touch with me and I'll see if I can help you find them. If you haven't used transfers before, I'm kind of jealous. Seriously, they are so fun, and I wish I could rediscover them all over again. I thought it would be fun to put Santa inside the wreath transfer. So I cut a little slit just to try things out and to see where it fit. It turns out though I didn't need to do that. I could have just cut it in half. When you're putting a transfer on an uneven surface, you find the flattest, smoothest part you can and you start there. So I'm starting right in the middle and working my way to the outside of that part of the wreath, and then I'm going to work all the way around because I want these two edges to line up, the two sides to line up after I take it apart and put it back together. If you miss a spot when you're applying a transfer, just use your tool, like right there, a part was still sticking. Just go back and rub the tool over it and it should come right off. And when you're done, always burnish the transfer, and that just makes every little bit and piece stick real good to the surface it's on, and it's a little extra protection. Now I'm going to add the Santa. This is for people who aren't familiar with Iron Orchid Designs. IOD transfers come in books. Each book is filled with pages made of really thick plastic, and we call that a carrier sheet. On the carrier sheet are the rub-on transfers. They're just kind of like stickers, like rub-on transfers you used when you were a kid. On top of that is another sheet that's kind of like plastic, maybe wax paper. That just protects the sticky part of the transfer. Some of the books come with one big mural that's cut down into pages, and each part of the design is on one page. Other books have lots of different transfers, and that's like the one we're using today. It's really easy to layer transfers. I love to do that. So I'm making sure the sides are the same first, and then I will just work my way into the bottom, because if it's curved so much that there's going to be a wrinkle, I don't want it to be there. I feel like a wrinkle and a cut would be too much. It would just be too obvious, and at the bottom it won't matter so much. But all of that was really much ado about nothing, because it didn't wrinkle at all. On this one you can see I'm pulling back the carrier sheet as I rub with the transfer stick, which by the way comes in the package, and I just kind of pull as I go, and I find that to be the easiest way. I went to do a little gold gilding, naturally. I like that stuff. So we're using Debbie's Design Diary liquid patina in the color Golden Ticket. I'm adding some to the little covers for the shoelaces, and then this part where the heel strap, I think it's called, goes up and over. And hear him talking about how I should paint the blade, but I'm not sure how. Okay, so obviously I should have laced them after I did this part, but oh well, it still looked good. I kind of thought the heel needed a little something right here, so I put this on it, and later I'm like, nope, that's got to go. And for the toe, I just fussy cut some greenery that isn't exactly like what's in the Santa area with the wreath, but it is a good match, and it's far enough away that it doesn't have to be exact. This one I started at one end and just worked my way up the side of the toe and up to the top. I thought it needed more gilding, which, I mean, seriously, has anybody ever said that? And people were like, no. Well, they probably do, but I don't listen to those people. I like gilding. I added some around some of the berries and the leaves in the wreath and the toe design. And then I decided it needed a little kind of the same kind of outline along the bottom where the sole is, and that would match the outline that's on the back of the boot and the one going down underneath the laces. I've already put a tree at the back of this boot. Now we're going to add some merry little fairies. This one has grass around the bottom, so she'll be standing on the ground next to the tree, and the other one will be floating next to it. I wanted to tell you guys why I decided it was okay to paint these skates. I told you some of the reasons, but what really released me is I had an aha moment, and it went something like this. Heather, people don't ice skate in South Carolina. So I kind of figure they will get more use being in some cute decorative Christmas vignette and being oohed and awed over than they will if they are sitting in a closet waiting for ice that's never going to be. So back to the Merry Fairies. I wanted this one and her wings didn't fit, so I just gave her a little trim, and now she fits perfectly. I didn't have any more floral like the first one, and this was the closest one that I found that complemented the Merry Fairies and the tree, but it was not the right shape. So I just fussy cut it and I put bits and pieces together, and I think it turned out really great. I think it had like 4 or 5 pieces when I was done. We're just going to speed through the rest of this because you've already learned everything you need to know about decorating an ice skate like a pretty vintage cake tin. I really liked the transfer I used on the other skate, but it just wasn't right. I love the star though. So I painted over the other transfer, put a star on this one, and I forgot to add the star after this dried. So I took them to the shop, put the price tag on it, came home, and there was the star. Had to go back to the shop the next day and put the star on it. It was super easy, just used my fingernail. By the way, these sold the next day. I'm using floral foam that I found on the side of the road. The best place to find it, by the way, is in rich neighborhoods with great big houses where they're always throwing away their fake flowers because they use really good foam. They can afford to throw away their fake floral foam. I can't afford to even buy it in the first place. Will all of that change when I become a big YouTube star and can afford fabulous fake floral foam in the first place? Stay tuned. So this is that greenery that you buy, like, I don't know what it's called. It's like my friend Keisha and I were trying to figure it out the other day. It's like called a spear or something. It's not a spear. It is a spear, but it's not called a spear. Anyway, it's just little pieces of pine needle that are like on a piece of wire. Well, somebody had wrapped them around and wrapped them around and did something. I don't know. So I just unwound them and used glue to make a little tiny tree. I thought this turned out pretty good, actually. I got this pretty one-sided ribbon at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to show you how to make a bow with one-sided ribbon. You take a little strip and leave it between your finger and your thumb, and then you twist it so that the pretty part of the ribbon is always on the outside, and you bring it around and twist it again, and then you make a bow that's the same size as the first bow on the other side, and you twist it again so that the pretty side will always be on the out. And then you keep doing it until you have however many loops you want. And you can do it different ways. One of the ways I like to do it is so that you get smaller with each loop. And then after you've done an even amount of loops on each side, you make one small loop and you push it under your thumb. After you get it done, twist the ribbon around, and that makes the ribbon come out the opposite direction as the first one you started with. I'm using some floral wire to tidy it up, and this kind of smushes the ribbon, what I'm going to do next, but it's a really good way to do this to make your bow tight so it won't come apart. I start a little twist, get it to where it is stuck, and I grab my pliers and I twist it until it's really super tight, and I twist it all the way down so that I can use that wire as a floral pick and put it into the styrofoam. I didn't do it for this, but with some ribbon, if it doesn't lay the way I want it, I'll put some glue on it, just a tiny little dot to keep it in place, maybe in a few different places. Another ribbon I think would look good in here is burlap, and you could also use like a twine or a hemp for the laces. I think that would give it a really good natural look. Man, I might have to look for some more skates. I just don't ever think I'll find them again at $2 a day at bin time. My sweet husband and I bought a lot at an auction. A lot, like, if you guys aren't familiar with auctions, a lot is L-O-T, not a lot. It's a lot. It's like a whole bunch of stuff. Well, they had this room that was a workshop for a guy who built lamps and clocks, and they were selling different sections of the workshop. So you could buy a wall, or you could buy a counter, or you could buy a cabinet. They had some islands out in the middle, and you would buy that whole entire thing and get whatever's on that shelf section. So we bought a section of it, and I think we spent like $8 or $10, and we got the coolest stuff. Well, what was even more spectacular is people who bought the other sections didn't want everything. So the auctioneers rented a ginormous, one of those extra long dumpsters. And it was like the size of a small semi. And they had the back doors open, and I mean, I couldn't believe the stuff I saw in there. I was like, what? And I asked him if I could climb in there and get stuff, and he said yes. And I probably got about $1,000 worth of stuff. Well, one of them was little bags of pine cones and acorns and different items this man would use when he made cuckoo clocks. And that's where I got the acorns for the decorations in this. I'm using that piece of drop cloth that I ripped to make it look like a burlap ribbon, and I'm just putting it right through the top laces of the skates. I held them, the skate, singular, I held up that part of the skate to see if it would hang wonky or not if I put the ribbon there, because there's really no other place to put like a mounting bracket. And I thought, you know, people might want to make it different, so I just used the ribbon and nothing else. I didn't glue it, I didn't tie a knot, I just wrapped it around, and that's what people can use to hang it up with. I wanted you to see how I tied the top of the bow here. I put it over on one side because when somebody is displaying these skates, it's not going to be something that they see from all sides. So I thought it would look pretty to have the ribbon hanging down on the side after I tied the bow in them. I got an itching one night to go out there and paint the blades to see if it worked, and it did, and I didn't even think about filming it. I just used a metallic Rust-Oleum spray paint that has the sealer and primer all in one, and it worked really good. I think they look fantastic. With the floral in this one, I am doing the same thing. I did a little bit different arrangement, but they match. They aren't the exact match, but if somebody wants to put them together, they will look really good together. I thought they'd look a little better with some filler, so I went through my stash and found, from some flowers I found on the side of the road, I found some sprigs that were gold, and I found 6 of them. It was perfect. I thought they looked so good in these. It just brought that gold out everywhere. I love gold gilding, y'all. And I love these skates. What do you think? You guys, I am so happy that people in South Carolina don't ice skate. And I'm happy they didn't sell last year because this was such a fun project, and I feel like the outcome was big. You know, compared to what I put into it, it's like I got more out of it than I put into it. I know a lot of people out there wonder how much vendors sell their stuff for sometimes, and I have no problem answering that. I sold these for $17 each, and I could have gotten more for them. In other areas, you probably could have gotten a lot more for them, but I am not just selling ice skates, y'all. I am selling a feeling. You know how when I talk about getting stuff off the side of the road and in dumpsters and I'm really excited, or if somebody gives me something, I just get this great feeling? That's what I want other people to feel when they buy my stuff. So when somebody comes into my shop and say she buys a table, I don't want her to go home to her husband and say, honey, you know that little niche in the corner where we had to have just the right piece of furniture? Well, I found it today. It's really cute, but it was kind of expensive, so I just won't buy anything like that next month. No, I want her to go home and say, honey, you know that little awkward space in the corner where we needed just the right piece to fit? Well, I found it today. This gallery did it, and it is so cute, and it's absolutely perfect. And guess what? The price was so good, I can go out and buy flowers to put on top of it. That's what I want. I want people to feel that. And you guys, when I make a video, I want you to feel something like that too. I want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I could maybe make that. I want you to try to make the things. And if you do feel that way, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. Seeing my channel grow is giving me so much encouragement and making me want to do this more. I love when you guys comment too. That is it. I just feel kind of like I know you guys. It's an awesome feeling. I appreciate all you guys are doing for me. I gotta go. I hope that you have a wonderful week, or however many days it is until you see me again. And as always, I hope you are blessed. Bye.